What's up, YouTube? It's me, Gearaholic here, with another review. Today we're going to be going over the review of another knife. This one is going to be the Kershaw Cryo Mia River. Just kidding. So the Kershaw Cryo is obviously made by Kershaw. It is by a Hinder design, so it's made by Mr. Hinder, and he basically designed the knife, and then him and I guess side by side with Kershaw, and then Kershaw obviously produced the knife. It's off of his more famous series, or it looks more like his famous series. You guys can do the more research on that. I'm not too familiar with all the history of his knife making, but I know that he's really popular in the knife world. I probably should know more about him. I probably will do more research on him. I just can't give you enough information right now. So we'll go ahead and kind of skip past that. We'll kind of jump right into the actual knife itself. The actual knife itself is an overall length of 6.5 inches, which is, it's really decent for, I guess, an average everyday carry knife. The actual weight of the knife is 4.1 ounces. That's a hefty weight to carry around in your pocket. And the actual blade length from start to finish is 2.75 inches. So 2.75 inches in total length, and the blade is actually 8CR13 MOV, and the actual handles are actual metal, and they're made out of 410. I think it's 410 stainless steel or 420 stainless steel, and then it's coated. The whole thing is coated in a titanium carbonitrate finish, so TiNi as short, and we'll get to all that whole thing, and I'll kind of explain a little bit about that in a little bit if you guys are really interested. You can just skip through it if you don't want to, but my thoughts on this knife. So this knife is definitely a good EDC knife, everyday carry knife. The only thing about this knife is the weight. Obviously, that's the one thing that I find is a drawback to this entire knife. But other than that, the entire the knife itself is actually very well designed, very well thought about, and designed. They took a lot of time making sure this knife had everything that it needed to have to function in whatever role you really put it in. I would say this would be a great backup knife for a primary knife if you were going out hunting or hiking or camping. Or anything like that. I would even say that you could take this knife into wet environments, just because the titanium nitrate coating. I'm sorry, the titanium carbonitrate coating that's on the actual blade really protects the blade from rust and from any kind of buildup of oxidizers on the actual blade itself or on the metal, all the metal parts. But it's really cool because this is the first knife I've seen in a really long time that is completely different in color as far as like the color choice they went with. This gray on black kind of nice color. I really enjoy that color. I know Gerber has had some knives in the past that were like almost exclusively TiNi coated, and I think those look really cool. It's just nice to see it in a different knife by a different company. And this really, I think it's a vast improvement over the world and the sea of wash of black on satin or black on black tactical knives. And I would even dare to say this would be a great tactical knife. It is very reliable and locks up like a freaking tank vault, whatever. It locks up tight. And look at that lock bar. You're not gonna break that lock bar. That's a thick lock bar. And I feel as if this knife, and I have taken this knife, and I did a little bit of light batoning with this knife just to see what it would do, and it really does function very well. The TiNi coating does kind of come off, over time. I've actually taken off some of it. You can kind of see the contours of actually the grinds on there from me using it over the the past. I think I've had this knife for 5 or 6 months, and since then, I've done a lot of box opening or cutting a rope and different things with the actual knife, and it has worked very well in my experience. It does decent at power cuts, and definitely excels at opening up boxes. which is any knife would really excel at that. So, let's see what else. Okay, so we're talking about the design of the knife. I think it's a very, very cool design. It's really only one of very few knives that I own that has the lock bar, handle implemented into the design. I really, really think that is super smart and super creative and very safe for a knife to have. And they were smart enough to actually put in a locker here, so that way you couldn't overextend the lock when you're unlocking the actual knife itself. You can't overextend that lock bar, which is nice. It's a nice feature. They also incorporated the Kershaw's famous speed safe lock onto it, and that's really cool. I really like that. It's nice that it's like a flipper design, and it's got that neat little super fast deployment method. I think that's really cool. I don't own a whole lot of knives that have super fast deployment method, and I own even fewer Kershaw's, but I think I'm starting to really, really like what Kershaw's putting out nowadays. They've really stepped up their designs and their game, as far as I'm concerned, and they've really started to speak more to me, and for what I look for in knives. The one thing I didn't anticipate about this knife is I did read a lot about it before I actually purchased the knife. I did purchase the knife for $32 at Academy, and that was a pretty decent deal, seeing as how I used a gift card, and I really didn't even pay all that much for the actual knife using the gift card. So I ended up kind of in a way like getting this knife for really cheap, but I'm sure you can find the knife out there in that $30 range, maybe even cheaper. I haven't really done a whole lot of research on how much it costs on the market. I just know that on Amazon and other websites, it's usually in the $30 range, and that's really, the $30 market is pretty decent, especially for an everyday carry knife that you'll be using all the time. And for the philosophy of its use, that's really all that you're going to be using it for is everyday tasks. But like I said, I've kind of put the rigors on this test on this knife, and definitely tried to see how far I could take the knife and see how far I could push it. And it is truly taken quite a beating, and I'm relatively surprised at how sturdy it is still. Every time I beat on it, I check it to see if it has any wear, any wobble, any wiggle, and it's super tight. You could pry with this knife probably, and it would probably do absolutely fine. I wouldn't want to try to do that, but if I had to, I probably could pry a little bit with this knife and do a little bit of functional work. I love it because it does catch your thumb, or it catches your index finger when you're actually holding the knife and using it for cutting tasks. That's excellent. The only thing I don't like about it is when you are using it for cutting tasks, it doesn't quite have, you can't quite get the whole blade all the way down for cutting tasks. I usually, when I cut things, if I have to cut them on tables, I usually cut them like this. It just seems safer to me. And that little divot, the little flipper stud, seems to really sometimes get in the way. Not a big deal, and not that it's going to change the game for me, but that's just one thing I noticed about the knife that kind of bothers me. It does stick out quite a bit in the back and could be even taken down just a little bit, just enough that it's not so obtrusive. Especially getting it in and out of the pocket. I've noticed that this catches on the pocket quite a bit, and I know you can actually reverse this. It's reversible clip, and we'll get to the clip in a little bit, but you can reverse it on all four sides, which is really nice and convenient for the everyday carry knife. The knife clip itself is actually super awesome. It's super deep, and I love that. I put this thing in my pocket, and it's like all you see is just the clip. And it could be anything. It could be a pen. It could be, people could think it's a flashlight. It really looks like anything when it's in your pocket, and that's nice because especially when I'm at work, I don't want people to know that I have a knife on me. Or if they think it's a pen, great. That makes it a lot more easier. To kind of like, deal with things, and if I need to take it out and I use it, I can just use it real quick and and then it goes right back in my pocket, and you didn't even know I had it out, because it's so in and out quick and fast, and sinks so deep into the pocket. It's really nice. The one thing, well, okay, I'll just keep talking about all the good things, and then we'll get to the bad things. I do love how much jimping is on here. The jimping that's on here is very satisfactory. It really does catch my thumb. It doesn't really matter to me if things really have aggressive jimping, but I've noticed that this has aggressive jimping, and I really like that. I just wish that they would continue it out onto the actual blade itself. It doesn't actually have it all the way out on the blade, or all the way out here on the very edge. I wish they would just just continued it right up there. And that would have been a little bit more of an improvement on the actual knife. The titanium titanium carbonitride coating that they put on this stuff is actually really awesome. It's an all-purpose coating that they use for tools, hard-use tools. And I mean, obviously, you've seen a lot of knives that have this stuff on it. But just FYI, when you add this coating to the actual blade itself and to the entire, to the entire knife, it really does increase the longevity of the actual tool. It increases the life expectancy of the knife 2 to 5 times, or that's what I've come up with, the estimation. And that's pretty freaking good. I mean, if you think about it, and you're going to have this twice as long or 5 times as long as you might any other knife, well, that's pretty good, you know. I mean, that means that you can pretty much thump away on this knife, and it's going to be all right, you know, mechanically, but also in the sense of it'll still look really good. You know, it won't lose any value. I mean, it won't lose any of its actual durability due to that titanium nitride coating, you know, that's on the actual blade. You know, and it's baked on, you know, so it's not going anywhere, and it's not cheesy. It's not going to flake off. It's going to rub off before it does anything. And I think it's a ceramic based it's an actually ceramic based coating, or at least that's what my research has led me to read about, and I could be wrong on that. So don't quote me. You know, don't go on Wikipedia and make up a whole page about it. But it to my knowledge, it is a nice coating to have on a blade, and I really honestly feel like it improves the quality of the blade. The blade is made out of 8CR13 MOV, and I feel that 8CR13 MOV is a really good steel. It does sharpen relatively easy, and it holds an edge for decently long. There are better steels out there, but this is the one that came on the blade. And I feel that adding the tie-dye coating to the actual blade was one of the smartest moves they could make for the 8CR13 MOV, because I'm really hard on my knives, and I like to take my knives out and put them in environments that they're not normally suited to, like very moist environments or wet environments, and I honestly feel that is the true test of a knife, because if you're ever in a situation where you're in water or in a high environment and you had to use your knife, you want to know that your knife is going to last, and you're not going to have to take care of it for a super, you're not going to have to constantly maintain your knife. Obviously, knives are meant to be maintained, but it's nice to know that you have to do one less thing by worrying about it getting rusted. And so far, when I've taken this out and done anything outdoors with it, it has not done or rusted or anything, which is nice. And that has to do with the coating on it. And I have other knives that are made out of 8CR13 MOV that have had a little bit of rust spots show up on it, even after just an overnight trip, camping or hiking or fishing. And, that's not good. You don't want your blade to rust up on you. I mean, unless you like maintaining your blade, that's fine. But you really want to make sure that you have some sort of protective barrier, and that's really nice about this. Another thing, I will just talk about the cons real quick. The weight on this knife is 4.1 ounces. That is absolutely atrocious. I did know that I was getting that heavy of a knife when I first bought it, but I didn't realize how heavy it really is until you put it in your pocket and you walk around all day with it. It's one of those knives you can't forget that's there because it's so big. It's so heavy, not so big. And it's a hefty knife, but it's an everyday usage knife. It's a hard use, everyday use knife, hard EDC knife. And I guess that's nice. But I really feel like they could have improved the design of this knife by even just doing a little bit better of a job of maybe milling out these handles, if it's even from the inside, and milling them out from the inside, and having a thinner layer on top right here, but having a strong structure underneath. or even just tapping holes into the whole thing. You'd have to be careful though, because obviously you don't want to ruin the setup of the deep pocket carry clip. So they would have to just tap 2 really large holes here and there right underneath the clip where it doesn't really matter if there's holes. And I mean, there you've lost a couple of ounces, and that there improves the knife right there. But this is just a nitpick type thing, I guess I'm talking about. And I really do feel like the knife, it doesn't, having the weight on the knife doesn't ruin the knife for me. It just is one of those things that I noticed that I really wish I could improve, but obviously I can't really change anything about it. And I mean, I could come in here and I could actually tap those holes and make it better and bigger. I just don't really want to, because honestly, if you have to put that kind of work into a knife that you buy, it's not worth it. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. But I like buying my knives and having them just function and work and be what I want them to be. So maybe that's one improvement that I could just suggest to Kershaw and maybe Mr. Hinder, if he was so inclined to even listen to my puny little review of his knife. But I feel as if they really did do that and really reduce the weight of these actual things, that would be really nice. I know for a fact that they come with, or they have some people selling replacement faces where you take this off and you put on a G10 or whatever. No, that's a really smart idea. The only thing is, I don't know if I trust G10 enough that it would be as strong of a lockup as this, unless it had a stainless steel liner on the inside that was kind of helping support the entire knife. Because then I feel like the entire knife would be compromised, or the strength of the knife would be compromised by the G10 handle that was surrounding it. But of course, I've never had one, nor have I ever tested out one, so I don't know the strength capabilities. But this is just my estimation of what I would feel would happen if you had a G10 handle here. With that being said, everything else on the knife I really like. Those few improvements with here and there would be really great. And maybe incorporating a little bit more jimping up here on the top would be more than a substantial improvement over the already beautiful knife that is the Kershaw Cryo. So yeah, my final thoughts are still really like the knife. It's great that they're coming out with new colors and designs. I know they have the Tonto version. They got a black wash version. They got a bigger version, Cryo 2. They're really Kershaw's really stepping up their game, and I really honestly like this knife. I like this style. I just feel like there are little minor improvements that would make this knife even greater, and really give other companies a run for their money. But that being said, though, that's all I'm gonna say for now. And if you guys have any comments or anything, or if you'd like to discuss anything else, let me know, and I'll try to update my videos and keep up with you guys. Other than that, you guys be safe and don't cut your fingers off out there. All right, you guys have fun. Later.